dkdynamite, and as of right now, the zombies community is pretty deep with hunting the curse mode relics and all of the trials, which I'll be covering in some separate videos, but I feel like it's time for this one. We're going to be talking about every known side Easter egg in Ashes of the Damned. Definitely stay tuned. Now, as new Easter eggs do get discovered, expect plenty of brand new article updates with the link down below in this video's description. Detonated has you covered with the latest and greatest quest coverage of Black Ops 7 Zombies. But starting off with the music Easter egg here on the map, you do have to find Mr. Peak headphones so you can activate the song called Turn to Ashes. This is by Elena Segman and Kevin Sherwood. The first Mr. Peak headphones will be located right here in spawn where the T.E.D. head would be located. It'll be located here on one of the servers. The next set of headphones will be over in Ashwood. You actually find this one just on top of a wooden plank there. And then the last set of headphones will be located in exit 115. You want to get on the hood of this truck and interact with those headphones, and boom, the song will begin to play. Now, although this isn't a real side quest, I just wanted to mention it for fun since this is a transit reimagining. We can also go ahead and shoot T.E.D. while within the Wonder Vehicle, and just like in the original Black Ops 2, T.E.D. can get upset and actually kick you out of the vehicle for just a brief period of time. He'll just shock you a little bit and kick you out for a good, I think, 10 seconds, but you'll also hear some funny quotes while you shoot him inside of Old Tessie. Now, what's really cool is that one of the best free Pack-a-Punch quests is here on Ashes of the Damned, and you can actually get it started as early as round 1. What you want to do is spawn in with the Toxic Growth Field upgrade, and you now want to find a can of plant spray. You can actually find the can right here in the Janus reception area. Pick that up, and you'll notice a bunch of green spores all around the map. There's actually 2 or more within spawn. What you do is just spray it with the can you just picked up, and after that, if you have Toxic Growth available, on round 1 you'd have to pop a full power, obviously, and you want to place the Toxic Growth over the spore, which will allow it to grow and pop even faster. If you don't have Toxic Growth, it's okay. Just have to wait a round or 2 before it's actually ready to pop, and when it does, you can get Pack-a-Punch crystals, separate upgraded weapons, and a bunch of other goodies that can get you started on a relatively low round. Now, you can repeat this process all around the map whenever you find the green spore. Of course, helpful to have Toxic Growth with you to get even better rewards. Now, even if you get an ether tool, that's still a good start so that you could save some money or salvage on upgrading your weapon later on in what could be an Easter egg run. But just like a lot of previous Black Ops 6 Zombies maps, there are actually some vending machines here inside of Ashes. There's 2 to be exact. One is right here in spawn, which if you punch it with Melee Macchiato, you should get a pretty good reward. You don't have to use that perk, in which you could end up pulling maybe some salvage or a piece of equipment. There's always a chance of a wonder weapon, while there's also another vending machine over in exit 115. Again, personally prefer to run Melee Macchiato before punching these machines, but you never know what you're gonna get. Either way, worth doing so in the case you want a bit of a boost while you're going ahead and progressing with the rounds. Now, something that was covered back in the survival beta for Farm is the trash can Easter egg that you could take advantage of if you come across one. There's one still here at the farm. All you have to do is melee the trash can to open it up, in which you can then throw some equipment inside. In exchange, you'll be given a bunch of random loot. It could be salvage, could be some extra essence, and occasionally you could even pull a wonder weapon. Again, one of those mini trinkets around the map that could actually give you a pretty good reward if you have patience and actually interact with it. But we also have a free Wisp Tea Easter egg. This is a brand new perk inside of Black Ops 7 Zombies and a spiritual successor to Blood Wolf Bite from BO4. You want to head into the farm, and preferably when you have a zombie being held or in between rounds, you want to interact with this TV. Keep interacting with it until you see 2 people pop up. When you see that, keep interacting with the TV until just 1 person pops up. When that happens, you can then go downstairs beneath the barn and you'll see a ghost interacting with the tic-tac-toe on the floor. Wait for that ghost to disappear and then go back to the TV, interact with it a few more times until you finally land on a channel again, except this time you won't see either of the twins. When that happens, you want to walk right over here past the power generator and you'll see the twins dancing in a circle, followed by a bunch of free loot that'll drop to the ground. What is guaranteed every time you do this is the Wisp Tea perk for those out there that don't want to go ahead and go all the way to Cosmodrome to go ahead and buy it. Now, I'm sure you guys have noticed blue salvage in the background footage. I can assure you blue salvage isn't back. Those are just the mimic drops from one of the new cursed relics. But speaking of free perks, there's actually quite a few perk Easter eggs here in the map, which I'm actually surprised about. There's free ones and there's also permanent ones. We'll get to that in a bit, but as far as how to get a bunch of free perks, this is what you gotta do. You have to find the ingredients, which funny enough, match the exact ingredients that can be read on a perk can label, we'll start off with Quick Revive. The first ingredient is going to be toilet cleaner, located here in the server room of the spawn area, the Janus reception. The next ingredient is going to be a fish located on the dock of the Blackwater Lake, and you're also going to find a syringe over in the Cosmodrome, specifically the control room, where I believe during the Easter egg run, a lot of folks thought that this syringe was needed for one of the main Easter egg steps, but it was actually a part of a free Quick Revive. You now want to take these ingredients over to the diner and interact with that styrofoam cup to go ahead and drink a free Quick Revive. As a note though, you can only drink one free perk per match per player. So if other players in your match want to drink a free jug or stamina up and speed cola, they can do that, but you're limited to one free perk per person in the match that you're in. But if you want to craft free Juggernog, the first ingredient is going to be a leaf located here in the spawn area just past the reception room. The next ingredient is going to be found in the barn, just in that corner as you could see, hidden in plain sight, but the final ingredient is actually going to be within the Exit 115 diner, just in the back on this rack. Pick those ingredients up, once again interact with that styrofoam, and you'll drink some free jug. But for free speed cola, the first ingredient is going to be behind this truck here in the Blackwater Lake. The second ingredient will be in this crate over in Ashwood, right there in the box. And the final ingredient is actually on the table here by the cash register inside of the diner. So it makes it even easier. Pick those up, interact with the styrofoam, and you got some speed cola. But the last free perk we know of is Stamina Up. I believe there's only 4 free ones you can obtain here inside of Ashes. The first ingredient is going to be in this box over in the cellar. This is in the farm. Might have to crouch down to see it. Pick that up. The second ingredient is this bag over in Ashwood, as you can see, not far from one of the armor wall buys. And the final ingredient is a can of gasoline located behind the Exit 115 mechanic shop. Pick those up, bring it to the styrofoam, and there's some free Stamina Up. I think it was real creative to see them actually use the ingredients that were listed on a perk can, which a lot of folks probably didn't know about. But there is a way to get perma perks inside of Ashes of the Damned, which is again another callback to Black Ops 2 zombies. So here's how it works. After you've obtained every single perk available in BO7, whether it's from popping Perkaholic, whether it's from buying them manually, if you go ahead and complete a TED trial and get the highest rarity reward, you'll be given a mystery perk drop. Regardless of what the perk is that it gives you, it'll then become a perma perk, meaning if you go down and get right back up, you'll still have that perk. So you can repeat this process as many times as you can to get almost every perk permanently added to your character. What I've heard though is that if you go down twice in a single round, you'll end up losing it. Well, I'm also betting they've balanced it to where you can only keep the perks after one down. We're gonna have to test that, but certainly extremely useful, especially when going into the tough Easter egg ending boss fight. Now, something really strange that I haven't quite figured out, but I believe it's bugged, is this RCXD race that you can trigger over in the Lost Cabins. So before you make it to the Blackwater Lake, you'll notice a bunch of mysterious looking cabins here in the fog. With one in particular though, you can go up the stairs and you'll see a suitcase. Next to that suitcase should be an RCXD controller, which when you interact with it, it'll give you a vote to then spawn into an RCXD race. For whatever reason, when I interacted with this suitcase, I didn't see the RCXD controller, but I still got a calling card which suggests that I was supposed to see the controller. Not sure what went wrong for me. A lot of folks out there have said that all they've done is interact with this suitcase here, and you're actually interacting with the RCXD remote, which would then trigger a race that you could do with your friends. It's very similar to the boat race from Terminus in BO6, or even the bowling ball Easter egg, where by the end, you'll end up getting some rewards based on what placement you got. But I'll show some credited gameplay on screen so you guys can see what's going on with this. Not sure why it didn't work for me, but either it's a bug or there's a step that we're missing here. Either way, I wanted to raise awareness about this cool race. Now, something I made a dedicated video about a couple of days ago is the Easter egg cutscene that's focused on Tank Dempsey. This is a really cool side quest that we all discovered during the main Easter egg hunt, where all you have to do is spawn in as Dempsey. And again, multiple players in your lobby could also play as Dempsey to trigger this. And what you want to do is drive to the Cosmodrome from Ashwood, and on the way, you'll be in the crashed rocket part of the fog, and you'll notice there's some charcoaled bodies there to the right. While playing as Dempsey, walk up to these bodies, which will trigger some memories because, of course, Dempsey forgot his, and as some quotes begin to play, you want to look for some dog tags. These could be in different spawns around these bodies. Some folks found the dog tags on top of one of the bodies. Some folks found the dog tags on top of one of the bodies. So what you want to do is interact with the dog tags. Dempsey will pick them up, and it'll teleport you into a forest of Vietnam. Now, this is a very narrative-driven side quest which connects the stories of Dempsey to Weaver, even Dr. Strauss, as well as the origins of the Elder Disciple. It is very cool. I highly recommend you guys give this a shot if you're a story nerd like me, and if you want a dedicated vid going through this from start to finish, I'll have that linked down below. But by the end of this, you'll end up getting some free loot, oftentimes a wonder weapon or even some legendary items. Highly recommend doing this if, again, you have somebody playing as Tank Dempsey in your match. Now, funny enough, there's another side Easter egg that takes you into that forest of Vietnam, except the objective is completely different. It's not quite as narrative driven, but what you want to do is have death perception. You could either buy it over at the farm or obtain it from a Perkaholic, however you can get it, and once you have death perception, you then want to look for some bear paw prints. These paw prints have been found in 3 different paths, again leaving Ashwood and going towards one of the other points of interest. Now, these paw prints can be found going from Ashwood to the Cosmodrome, or Ashwood to exit 115, and even from the Cosmodrome to exit 115. In one of those paths, you should see some bear paw prints on the ground thanks to death perception, which you can keep following until you make it to the very last one. After finding a good 4 to 5 prints, it'll teleport you to the forest with only a knife in your hand, and you then have an option of doing one of 2 things. You can either challenge yourself to kill the bear with just a knife. Of course, it makes it useful to have melee macchiato before going in, or you can pick up your loadout weapon and go ham against the Zursa bear. Now, once the bear is dead, their soul will flow over this reward box that you can interact with to get a bunch of free goodies, which may even include a wonder weapon. Again, the loot is completely random for everybody, but typically contains some legendary items. The real reward from this side quest, though, will be earned if you use just a melee weapon. So when you spawn into this fight, you'll have a knife in your hand and your loadout will be right in front of you. You can still grab the loadout if you want, you just can't fire a shot. If you manage to kill the Zursa bear with just your melee weapon, you'll be getting something called the Claw Talisman. Of course, if you guys want before this side quest, you could of course pack-a-punch the knife, get it to legendary rarity, equip napalm burst to it, which of course will weaken the bear, but what is by far the easiest method to take this bear down is by using the Necro Fluid Gauntlet. Yes, the wonder weapon can be picked up when you grab your loadout, and you can just use the melee attack against the bear, which is very, very powerful. Now on the ground, you'll then see the Claw Talisman. This will give you a permanent double points whenever you use a melee weapon in that match that you're in, which you can also stack with a regular double points Gobblegum, as well as augments for melee macchiato, which will also give you more points for every melee kill. But don't worry, because if you choose to use your loadout weapon to finish off the bear, you'll still get some pretty high valuable loot, including the chance of getting a Raygun. Now we then have the Mr. Peaks Hatchet Easter egg. This can be done over at the Blackwater Lake, and what you want to do is interact with this trophy located in the shed. It'll begin to glow gold, and you want to pick up this tomahawk on a tree stump. It's a free one that you could use so that you could avoid having to spend some salvage to get a tomahawk, which is needed for this quest. You're going to see some targets a couple of feet away, and your goal here is to just throw tomahawks at those targets. Obviously, if you're on solo, you might want to throw a decoy or pop Ether Shroud, just so that you're not getting attacked by zombies while attempting to do this, because some of the later targets that you get are going to be moving up and down, so that creates a little bit of extra challenge. Still though, it is easier than the target Easter egg we had back in the Reckoning a few months ago. But after you've hit enough targets with this tomahawk, which by the way keeps bouncing back to you, so you won't have to worry about the tomahawk maybe getting stuck out of the map or having to buy other ones, you'll keep getting tomahawks to continue participating in this minigame. After throwing enough tomahawks, it'll end up spawning some free loot depending on how many targets you hit and how fast you ended up hitting those targets. Again, the loot could be random, could be high rarity weapons, could be pack-a-punch crystals, ether tools, or other useful equipment. Now we then have some secrets around Ashes, which will greatly benefit you during the main Easter egg if you know them, which I wanted to include in this video since they're technically side quests, as you'll see. So instead of waiting until round 16 for that Zursa bear to spawn in, you could actually force spawn them in as early as you'd like. So what you'll first need is the Necro Fluid Gauntlet. We have one here just underneath the rocket. You'll see it there in the distance. You want to shoot the gauntlet at it and retract your shot so that the skull actually emits some energy. The next skull is going to be located just outside of a barrier right there on that pillar. Go ahead and grab that one. And lastly, there's another skull in a pretty dark space, but I believe it's a spawn point for zombies. You can just crouch down, shoot that skull, and once you've retracted a shot on that third skull, a Zursa bear will spawn in. Something I was also confused about during the main Easter egg run is whether or not you can shoot the clock multiple times in a single round. You actually can, but there's a little bit of RNG involved with it. So of course you're probably aware by now that you have to use the turret on top of Old Tessie to shoot the clock that's floating in Ashwood, and when you do that, somebody will take the gauntlet, shoot the clock, pull the shot back to then enhance your gauntlet with purple energy, which you'll then use for all the clock trials. Well, before, we thought we would only be able to shoot it once per round because we would shoot the clock again with old Tessie and the gauntlet, and you wouldn't get that purple upgrade. Well, it looks like it's on a bit of a timer, no pun intended, where if you wait a little bit in that same round, the clock will begin chiming again, and if you shoot a different clock face with the gauntlet, it should give you that purple upgrade. You should be able to shoot each of the 4 faces, you're just not sure which of the faces will be available next. Now this of course can really come in handy if, let's say, you fail shooting at the satellites in Cosmodrome, or if you fail one of the other clock trials, let's say it's at the diner or even at the farm. But speaking of the diner, there's another step that appeared to be time gated while we were hunting the main quest, where only every couple of rounds would lightning actually strike this area, which would mean that you weren't able to do one of the clock trials until the lightning started striking again. Luckily, if you want to go ahead and restart the lightning process, here's what you gotta do. Take old Tessie and look for these sparking light poles here in the diner, and you want to shoot each and every one with that turret until that 3rd street light ends up triggering the lightning again, which will allow you to continue with the main Easter egg. Now let's say you already escorted 2 of the zombies to their lightning bolts, but you missed one, you'll only have to worry about escorting that one zombie to their lightning bolt. So that means only 1 strike of lightning will come down with the color that you missed. But speaking of the main Easter egg, there is also a round 100 version of this fight. As we saw a couple of times throughout Black Ops 6, if somebody makes it that far in the rounds and wants to challenge themselves to do the boss fight with even faster super sprinters and a tougher main boss, they can choose to do that. I would assume that after the boss fight does get nerfed, which I believe it will be probably in the coming weeks, the round 100 version of the boss will probably be toned down a little bit. I'll put some limited and credited footage on screen so you guys can see what this is like. But it does seem like you're going to see more bear spawns, you're going to see a bigger missile barrage, and the boss itself will be even more aggressive. But throughout the main quest, we also know that we have to summon Klaus, and luckily, after he's used to go ahead and obtain the Necrofluid Gauntlet, you can still summon Klaus back into the match to help you as a mini Civil Protector. However, he only has a PAP 2 weapon. It's unclear if right now there's any upgrade for Klaus. I'd assume it's probably possible if you just continuously keep getting kills with them. Gonna have to experiment with this, but figured I'd mention that in most of the points of interest, you'll find a Klaus summoner, which could allow him to stick around even if you're not doing the main Easter egg. But regardless, it's awesome that we finally got some closure to the specific Klaus that we saw at the end of Modern Toten, who seems to be just fine here inside of Ashes of the Damned. What I wanted to start wrapping up with was in regards to some cursed exclusive side Easter eggs. I do plan on making a separate video talking more about these as more do get discovered, because I believe apart from just the cursed trials and the relics, there's actually a set of side quests that you can't trigger at all within standard, which are slowly being discovered as more and more people do jump into cursed. Now, one of these quests in particular was pointed out by Sky over on Twitter, which allegedly involves a flashing light at spawn, taking a look at the amount of flashes, and then taking the jump pad, followed by driving Tessie to exactly where you took that jump pad at. Somehow this triggers some portals in the sky, and if you go through them all, it'll then reward you with some real high valuable loot, including a Raygun Mark II. I do believe the Raygun Mark II is probably in the reward pool and can be obtained by doing a T.E.D. trial, could be obtained doing the Zursa side quest in the forest, but that's a quest that I have not seen triggered in a match of standard, whereas there was also something posted by Chopper and several other creators out there suggesting that when you spawn into a match of Cursed, there's a chance that you'll just find a random Mr. Peaks who can drop you several free perks, which is also a big point saver considering everything is even more expensive while playing the Cursed mode. Now, if you're wondering why some of these side quests are a little lackluster in Ashes, I do believe it's because there are some unfound quests within Curse specifically, and they wanted to try to evenly distribute all of the side Easter eggs amongst both of the modes. But last and certainly not least, we have the free power-up drops. Full power can be found here in the Cosmodrome, just behind that gate there. As you'll see, it's a little hard to spot, but of course with the sniper it'll be even easier. You want to shoot that, and boom, the power-up will spawn in. The next one is going to be a nuke located in the church over at Ashwood at the very top. Go ahead and get that shot in, and there you go, free kaboom. Next up, we're going to be looking at a free max ammo located right by Quick Revive. You want to look up there at the ceiling, and it'll be sitting right there. And moving on to farm, we're going to be getting a free insta-kill at the very top of that silo. But you're also going to be able to find a free max armor, which I don't think I saw any reports on. I managed to find this by mistake while Easter egg hunting. It's going to be located here in a shipping container on the grounded ship, which I'd recommend having monkey bombs or ether shrouds so that you can protect yourself from all of the crazy fog zombies while you grab this. And after this, you're also going to find a free double points over in the fog by the Lost Cabins. It's going to be out there in the woods, which again could cause trouble because of how many fog zombies are going to be chasing you. These are some crazy super sprinters, so make sure you protect yourself before going for this power up, up, and once you grabbed all those, it should be spawning in a free fire sale. That has yet to be found, but I'll of course be following up on that in a follow-up short. But ladies and gentlemen, we made it to the end. That is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on every known side Easter egg thus far within Ashes of the Damned? Are you satisfied with the launch map of Black Ops 7 Zombies? And do you think there's some huge quests that we have yet to discover either in Standard or even in Curse mode? With that being said, really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out everybody.